While some people find comfort in cozy nights at home, others feel restless, confined, even anxious when they spend too much time indoors. If you're someone who always needs to be out doing something, or if you know someone like this, you might wonder what's really going on psychologically. Today, we're diving into the fascinating psychology of people who don't love staying home. Let's start with the most obvious factor, extraversion. According to personality psychology, extroverts literally get their energy from external stimulation. But here's what's fascinating, it's not just about being social. Research shows that extraverted brains respond differently to dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with reward and pleasure. Studies by psychologist Colin DeYoung found that extroverts have more active dopamine systems, which means they need higher levels of stimulation to feel satisfied. Staying home simply doesn't provide enough sensory input or social interaction to activate their reward centers. Think of it this way. If an introvert's brain is like a rechargeable battery that fills up in solitude, an extravert's brain is like a solar panel that needs exposure to generate energy. Without that external stimulation, they feel drained rather than recharged. But it's not just about extraversion. There's another powerful psychological trait at play, sensation seeking. Psychologist Marvin Zuckerman identified sensation seeking as the need for varied, novel, and complex experiences. People high in sensation seeking have lower baseline levels of arousal in their nervous systems. To feel normal, they need more intense experiences. Home represents routine, predictability, and low stimulation, which can feel understimulating or even unbearable for high sensation seekers. There's also a strong neurological component here. Research using brain imaging shows that sensation seekers have reduced activity in areas that regulate impulse control and heightened responses to novel stimuli. When they're stuck at home, they're fighting against their brain's natural wiring. Additionally, novelty activates the hippocampus and triggers dopamine release. For these individuals, exploring new places, meeting new people, or trying new activities isn't just fun, it's a psychological need. Home, by definition, offers little novelty after a while. Our relationship with home also has deep roots in our attachment patterns and childhood experiences. Psychologists have found that some people develop what's called environmental restlessness, often stemming from their early experiences. For instance, if someone grew up in a chaotic or emotionally tense home environment, they might have learned to associate being home with stress or discomfort. As adults, they unconsciously avoid staying home to escape those old feelings. Alternatively, people who grew up with lots of freedom and outdoor activities might have developed a psychological association between being out in the world and feeling safe, happy, and autonomous. Their sense of self is literally constructed around being mobile and exploring. Attachment theory also suggests that people with anxious attachment styles might seek constant social connection to manage their anxiety about relationships. Staying home alone can trigger feelings of abandonment or disconnection, making it psychologically uncomfortable. In our modern world, there are also contemporary psychological factors at play. Fear of missing out, or FOMO, is a real psychological phenomenon that disproportionately affects some people more than others. Research published in the journal Computers and Human Behavior found that people with lower levels of life satisfaction and lower psychological need satisfaction experience more intense FOMO. For them, staying home means potentially missing experiences that could fill those psychological gaps. There's also something called place identity, which is how our environment contributes to our sense of self. Some people develop identities that are strongly tied to being active participants in their communities, cities, or social scenes. Staying home threatens their sense of who they are. Finally, we can't ignore the role of avoidance. For some people, being alone with their thoughts is uncomfortable. They might be avoiding introspection, anxiety, loneliness, or even just boredom. Staying busy and staying out becomes a coping mechanism, sometimes a healthy one, but sometimes one that prevents them from processing important emotions. So is not loving to stay home a problem? Not necessarily. The key is understanding your own psychology and finding balance. If your need to be out is draining your finances, damaging your relationships, or preventing you from ever being comfortable with yourself, it might be worth exploring with a therapist. But if you're simply someone who thrives on activity, connection, and exploration, that's a valid way to be human. The important thing is self-awareness. Understanding whether you running towards something you love or running away from something you fear makes all the difference. Both introverts and extroverts, homebodies and adventurers, can live fulfilling lives. The key is knowing yourself and honoring your psychological needs while also challenging yourself to grow. So whether you re someone who needs to be constantly on the move or someone who treasures quiet nights at home, remember, your psychology is unique, shaped by your brain chemistry, your experiences, and your needs. Understanding the why behind your preferences isn't about judging them, it's about living more intentionally. Thanks for watching, and wherever you are right now, at home or out in the world, I hope you're exactly where you need to be.